Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches, and this week we have 12 incredible watches on the table with plenty of vintage this time. I've been listening, you guys want more vintage, I'm doing my best, but as I've said in previous videos, vintage always takes a little bit longer from the moment we acquire to the moment it comes on the website, and sometimes that can be a month or even 2 months depending on service intervals and many other things. So oftentimes it is easier and more, I guess you could say, financially effective to buy modern. So I do my best. There's a lot of vintage actually in the pipeline, a lot of stuff that's in service at the moment that a lot of you don't even know exists, right? I haven't got it on the coming soon or anything like that. So believe me, I'm always buying vintage. It just takes a little bit longer. And sometimes I get a wave of them back and through, just like you see right here. So yeah, very excited to bring you this week's drop. Also want to say a huge thank you to everyone who left a comment on the last video, giving me some feedback. I got a few emails and a few messages, and a few people even mentioned it here in the appointments that saw it. So thank you all very much. I've taken a lot of it on board. There's a lot of really great suggestions in there. One thing to, maybe I didn't make it very clear, it is just me doing all of this. So the videos, the coming soon, the Instagram, the listing, you know, all of those things. So I'm already at pretty much maximum capacity to a certain level. So I should have probably prefaced that a little bit. But yes, some of the feedback in there, if I have another person, absolutely, there's some great ideas, and I'll be keeping them in mind if I can get to that point. I think for now what I'm going to do is just try and work through the backlog a bit quicker by going from 8 or 10 watches to 12, as you see here. I don't think any more than 12 in a drop is a good idea. I think it will become too much and certain nuances will be lost. So keeping it this length I think is good. It also makes it a bit more manageable for me, because again I have to photograph all these, get them ready, do this video, edit this video, get it uploaded and so on. So yeah, 12 I think is the maximum. Now, before we crack on with the watches you're here to see today, what's on wrist? I'm actually wearing a beautiful Mido from the personal collection. This is a very early watch, beautiful patina, the way it's aged, incredibly rare, great size, all of the bells and whistles with it. And it's one I will not be selling, so don't expect to see this anytime soon. I apologize if you saw this and instantly went, wow, I want that in my collection. Unfortunately not, but thankfully we have some great watches on the table today to look at instead. So we're going to start off this week's episode with an incredible Omega Speedmaster. This is a pre-moon, so pre-1969, with the manually wound caliber 321. A beautiful watch and really great for someone who wants to get into one of these at a affordable price, because the new 321 is definitely up there in price. You can get a vintage for less, which I find fascinating. So let's take a closer look at this one. Incredible watch to begin this week's episode. As you can see, this is a gorgeous Omega Speedmaster pre-moon, and what we mean by that is pre-moon landing, which is 1969. This watch actually dates to circa 1967, and that's based on the serial number. So this is a reference 105.012-66. 66 is a reference to the year the case was made. So you need to keep in mind, cases and parts were often made in batches and then sent to Omega because they were made in different places. And then they were put together basically once the movement was put in, and the movement had serial numbers which again dictate the age. So that's just something to keep in mind. A lot of people, when they hunt for birth year watches, you could always argue, you know, what exactly are you looking for? The year the case was made, the year the movement was made, the year it was all put together, because that's something we just don't know, the year it was sold, and so on and so on. We could really go on down the list. So I always say, try and find the perfect watch for you, and if it happens to be your age or close to your birth year, it's a result. You know, focus on the watch first and foremost. And this is a wonderful example, as I say, from 1967. The highlight of this is that it has the manually wound 321 caliber inside, a famous movement for Omega, based on a very reliable and well-used Lamania movement. And this watch features its original tritium dial, as you can see right there, which is just gorgeous, aged beautifully, applied Omega logo at 12 o'clock. And this did have the full works done in 2019 with Omega. So it comes with a little Omega service pouch and the Omega service papers. Something to keep in mind is they got the last digits of the serial incorrect on the paperwork. It would have been a typo when they would have input it at Omega. It's one of those things that can happen. Having worked at Omega myself and for many retailers, it's so easily done, and it's just one of those annoying things. But as always, we open, check every watch, and we saw that discrepancy, but it is the correct service paper because we got it from the person who actually has the watch, and it's all adding up. So again, it's just one of those things just to keep in mind and point out for you. So this has service hands, service bezel, a service bracelet, which is the same style it would have had. It's a newer made version by Amiga, so it's a full bracelet, nice and strong, great condition, and you can see the original case back right there as well. So service bezel, service hands, service crown and pushers, and service bracelet. So the dial, the case and the case back and the movement are original to the watch from 1967. Everything else is service parts, again from Amiga, so original parts done correctly. So just something to keep in mind. So let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go. On my 7-inch wrist, you can see the bracelet is humongous, which is great for any of you with a bigger wrist out there, or you want a full bracelet. But to be honest, for me, with older Speedmasters, I wear them pretty much exclusively on leather straps because they just look so good in my opinion. But this is 42mm by 48mm lug to lug, 14mm thickness, and 20mm on the lugs. Endless options for swapping this one out, which I would highly recommend giving a go. You know, the bracelet's great, but leather straps just look so good. So go check this one out on the website today. From there to my favorite watch on the table, this is a 1993 Tudor Prince Oyster Date Submariner, 40mm with tritium. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't think this is going to hang around long. I've had this reference before in the past, and it's sold instantly, so I think this will be the same. So let's take a closer look at this one. And here we go. As I said, I think this is my favorite in this week's drop. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is a Tudor Prince Oyster Date Submariner in 40mm, as you'd expect, so the traditional Submariner size, and it features that gorgeous tritium dial and tritium handset with the matte dial and the maxi loom plots, where it's all loom. There's no surround on those, and you have those beautiful hands with tritium as well. Original bezel with a tritium loom pip. Nice big crown, which is obviously a Rolex crown, Rolex case, and it comes on its original folded link Tudor bracelet right here, which is in wonderful condition. The watch overall is in wonderful condition. You can see the Rolex screw down case back. So this one is a reference 79090. For those of you Tudor buffs out there, you'll know this reference probably off heart because it's one of the most iconic of the Tudors, arguably, you know, unless you're going much older. And this one dates to circa 1993. Which is a potential birth year for some of you out there, no doubt, which makes it really cool. And inside is an automatic ETA caliber 2824-2, a very reliable, easy to service movement, which is what made these Tudors more affordable. They use Rolex parts, but Tudor dials and more affordable ETA movements. If you go far enough back, they used AS and a couple of other calibers as well, but for the most part ETA, and this is a very, very good, reliable movement in a beautiful watch, and arguably I think I prefer them to Submariners, especially of the same period. I think a maxi dial 16800 is really attractive, but to have the maxi dial slightly later, still with the tritium, I think is really beautiful. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go. On my 7-inch wrist, you can see how nice that looks. It really does look like a much older watch than 1993, in my opinion. Whereas you look at a Submariner from 1993, they definitely usually look a bit more new than this does. This looks more like something from the 80s, maybe even the 70s, which I think is really, really cool. I forgot to say it doesn't come with any box or paperwork as well, but I think that was pretty much implied with the fact I didn't say it initially. So this is 40mm by 47mm lug to lug, 12mm thick and 20mm on the lug, so endless options for swapping this one out. But the bracelet is super comfortable and it looks fantastic. So go check out this watch on the website today. From there over to a Panerai that just recently came back this year from a service with Panerai of an eye-watering over £1,000 repair cost. This is the Rattrapante, which is a split-second chronograph in 45mm. So let's take a closer look at this. Next up is a complicated Panerai. This is the Panerai Radiomir Rattrapante, and Rattrapante essentially means split-second chronograph. Now this is the PAM 00213 from December 2006 with its full box and paperwork, and as I mentioned in the intro, a full service from Panerai this year, which came to over £1,000, an eye-watering amount. But the good thing is it's got their 2-year warranty. It comes with our 1-year warranty as well. And it had a new crystal, light polish, all that good stuff, and it's looking and working beautifully. Screw down crown at 3 o'clock, your usual pushers, as well as an extra pusher down here. So let's show you how a Rattrapante works. You start the chronograph with the button up here as usual, and that stops the chronograph as well. Everything as you'd expect. Same with resetting. Now, if you want to use the Rattrapante, the split second, it allows you to track 2 things at once, basically. So you can push this button right here, and it basically leaves a chronograph seconds behind, as you can see, whilst the other one continues going. Now you can push it and bring it back. It will sort of attach back onto the chronograph seconds, and you can leave it behind again. Again, this is a complicated movement and a complicated thing to achieve, and it did have a real use, and you could still use it today. Obviously, if you're monitoring 2 different times at once, you can obviously still reset it, bring it all back around, but that's how a retropante works. A very cool movement nonetheless. As we flip it over, you're presented with an exhibition caseback showcasing the automatic Panerai caliber OPX VIII, which you can go read more about on our website. It does come on its original Panerai strap, which is, to be honest, very nice considering this is a slightly older strap. Unfortunately, no Panerai buckle, so I've just put a generic buckle that fits and suits the design and fits in the strap nicely. So yes, a big watch at 45mm, but we'll show it on wrist in a second. You'll see, even though it's 45mm, it's short lug to lug with these bars, which make it super wearable. Now, for those of you that are unaware, to change the straps, it's not a traditional spring bar. You unscrew, and these are 2 separate bars that come out, and then you can take the strap off, put a new strap on, put it back in, and screw them back in. It takes a little bit of getting used to if you've never done it before, but there's plenty of videos out there. And obviously I'm more than happy to do it for you as well. So let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist, just so you can see that Panerai, that buckle that isn't Panerai, but again it suits the design and fits nicely. And as we flip the watch around, you can see there on my 7-inch wrist. Now don't get it confused, it is a big watch, there's no doubt about it. Panerais are big watches and they should be big watches, but it still wears incredibly well considering the size. So this is 45mm by 50mm lug to lug. That's at the point of the bars coming out, not the top of the case, which is obviously less. It's 16.5mm thick, so it's definitely no thin watch, but again it works quite well with the size. And we're looking at 20mm straps, 26mm, sorry, ignore me on 26mm. So there you go. Go check out this incredible watch on the website today. From there over to a Fizz Brunswick Salmon, a fantastic watch. Probably the most successful Fizz to date yet, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but it's definitely the one I've sold the most of, I've had the most requests of, and usually sells the quickest. So let's take a closer look at this one. From a incredibly large cushion watch with the Panerai over to this Fizz Brunswick Salmon dial, which you could say is definitely more refined, arguably more elegant. This is the reference BS23800A from May 2022, and as I mentioned in the intro, the salmon dial, I think it was Fizz and is Fizz biggest and best seller. Not really a surprise when you look at it, how incredible it is, that brushed salmon dial, the blued hands and the applied numerals. It just works beautifully. Obviously the Brunswick case, this is the 38mm manually wound with an ETA inside, that's a 7001. Behind a closed case back, they did exhibition and closed. This is a closed one. I kind of prefer it with the spun case back, because whilst the ETA inside is a great movement, it's not exactly anything to really look at in my opinion. And I know for some people just seeing a movement is beautiful, and I get it, but for me, I want it to be, you know, maybe something a bit special. So a closed case back is nice because then you've got room to engrave or leave it as is. This feels like a vintage case back, which I really like. So as I say, May 2022, full box of papers. It comes with like the Fizz pouch and cleaning cloth and everything like that. And it's a beautiful black wooden box made here in England as well. So all the attention to detail you come to expect out of Fizz. Comes on its black Bristol leather with its Fizz buckle. It's a really nice strap, suits the watch beautifully, but I will say have a play around with straps. This is surprisingly versatile. Brown, you know, all kinds of different colours. It really, really works. So let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. You can see a very great proportion, and I think they've nailed the size in my opinion on the manually wound version. The 40mm is lovely, but I just find it a little bit too big, I think, with the proportions, whereas this is perfect. So this is 38mm by 42mm lug to lug, only 12mm thick and 20mm on the lug, so endless options for swapping this out. And Fizz offers some really beautiful straps at I think very fair prices as well, so be sure to check those out. But go check out this watch on the website today. From there over to a Vertex M100 Black. This is the automatic version with the screw down crown. It comes with the bracelet and all the extra straps as well. A great watch, especially for the money. It's incredible value. So let's take a closer look at this one. Now on to the Vertex M100 AC. This is the automatic with the screw down crown. Now Vertex is a brand with true history and heritage and part of the Dirty Dozen, which gives them absolutely every right to use that broad arrow on the dial right there, which was a military designation for basically things used in the military, right? So really great history there, and I think this watch is the epitome of the modern interpretation of the vintage classic, because one, it comes on a bracelet, the original didn't, and it's black DLC coated, which is really, really cool because you get this completely stealth look, especially with the black dial and those incredible lume plots and lume on the hands. For those of you that have not had the privilege of seeing Vertex in the metal, one, book an appointment, come see them over here or over in their showroom, which is absolutely beautiful, by the way, and they're really great in there. But they have these raised numerals which stick out incredibly, and it just glows so powerfully. Arguably some of the best lume I've seen on watches yet. As I said, screw down crown at 3 o'clock, quick release on the straps, which makes it super easy. And one really cool nifty feature, which I don't think gets talked about enough, is the Vertex logo in the clasp is loomed. I don't know if you can see that, but that is actually loomed, which is really cool. Push buttons to open it, and it also has a slide adjust right there, so you can get the perfect fit and adjustment over a wetsuit if you were going to dive, I guess. Vertex signed case back. You can see on all of this, it's still got a lot of stickers on. The watch has really not been used, to be honest, so you're getting yourself basically a new watch. But inside there is an automatic Sellita SW260, and this watch is specifically from June 2023 with the bracelet, the rubber strap, and 2 NATO straps. So with all of that, you get 4 straps total, which is perfect, really, and they're all quick release and nice and easy to swap out. These NATOs obviously aren't. They come with a spare spring bar in the box, and everything else with it. So let's show this on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go. On my 7-inch wrist, there's something incredibly charming about the black case, black dial, black bracelet. You know, all black watches, you either really like them or you don't, and I'm always unsure. There's certain watches that I'm like, okay, this is one I can get behind, and others where I'm like, that's just not for me. This one is totally one I can get behind. So this is 40mm by 48.5mm lug to lug, only 12mm on the thickness, and do keep in mind some of that is that domed sapphire crystal, which is absolutely fantastic, gives that vintage look, and 20mm on the lug, so endless options, but between all the straps it comes with, I think you're pretty much set. So go check it out on the website today. Then we have 3 jumbo Tudor dates, which is absolutely awesome. 2 are the same reference, they're the 2 on the suede strap, and we're going to start with the slightly earlier 1970 jumbo. This is a reference 7024 with a gorgeous silver dial that has got quite a bit of patina, a lot of, we almost call it flaking, basically, where the finish that was on the dial is starting to peel up. Some people absolutely love it, some people don't. You know, at the end of the day, if you don't, there's one here that hasn't got that. So let's take a closer look at this one. Now, on to a Tudor jumbo date. As you can see, this is the Prince Oyster date. In 38mm, really interesting because obviously Rolex didn't make a date just or anything like that in this size at this period. They still don't today, which I think is really interesting. So Tudor was definitely the place where Rolex sort of experimented a bit more with sizes, with designs. You think of like the Tudor chronographs with the Monte Carlos and the crazy colours they used. You just can't imagine them doing it with Rolex. Now, granted, they've done rainbow bezels and all kinds of crazy stuff now, but back then, Tudor was definitely the place they were experimenting. And in this case, they were experimenting with size. So jumbo, referring to 38. Now, of the jumbos we're looking at today, this is the most affordable of the bunch. It's slightly older, from circa 1970, and it's a reference 702/0. And the reason it's more affordable is just because of the dial, really. If you have a closer look at some of the photos, you'll see there's some speckling and flaking of the dial. It's basically the finish they used at that period. It's starting to peel up. It can happen with a lot of watches, and it creates quite an interesting texture. Again, you're either really a fan of it or you're not. Some people actually pay a premium for those kind of things, but we've priced it as such, so you could be the judge of that. Obviously, the case, it is worn, it is used, it's been enjoyed as it should be, and we can have it completely refinished on request if you so wish. And the crystal is starting to craze, which is where this is a very old crystal, so it's starting to craze, which is where it like cracks ever so slightly. Now, it's not cracked as in gone all the way through, but it is crazing, so that's something just to keep in mind. We can also have that replaced on request, but it's one of those things, it just goes with the overall look and design of the watch, in my opinion, and makes sense that it would have all that, so I kind of like it. Screw down Rolex crown at 3 o'clock, screw down Rolex case back, as you can see, and inside here is an automatic ETA 260 2772. A nice reliable movement, and we just had it serviced as well. And as I said, circa 1970. So let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. Super attractive watch and super attractive size for those of you that find the 36 a bit too small or are just wanting something a bit bigger than that. You know, there's not a lot of option, and this is one to definitely consider and super affordable compared to Rolex Datejust as well. So this is 38mm by 47mm lug to lug, only 10.5mm thick, and 20mm on the lugs with drilled lug holes to make strap changing nice and easy, but we paired it on this sort of browny, red, oxbloody patinaed strap, which I think really suits the design. So go check it out on the website today. From there over to another silver dial jumbo, but this time a reference 9080 from 1977, so 7 years later than this one, with beautiful tritium hands, tritium dial, absolutely incredible, really nice, honest example. So let's take a closer look. Now on to another silver dial, but this time 7 years later, with the reference 9080/0, and I did have 3 of these. I had this silver, I had the black that you're going to see next, and a grey, and the grey went instantly, which is, to be honest, no surprise at all. So as I say, circa 1977 with this one. Same as the other one, being a jumbo Prince Oyster date jumbo, referring to the size of 38mm, which was large for the size because typically it was 36mm for the Datejust. And obviously Tudor also did a 36, and they did even smaller sizes, but the jumbo was them sort of testing the field of a larger size, which now we have larger sizes in the Datejust, still not a 38, and I do think 38 is a really great sweet spot for people, for a lot of people, which is why these models are so popular. So as I say, circa 1977, you've got Cyclops over the date, beautiful tritium dial and tritium handset, which is just absolutely incredible. There are some marks on the crystal, sort of to be expected as it is one of its original crystals. Really nice profile, screw down Rolex crown and screw down Rolex case back, and inside is an automatic ETA 2784, so a slighter later movement than what was used in the one we just looked at from 1970. Still a very reliable movement that was used across many brands, and that's what made this more affordable than the Rolex counterpart. Now, as always, we can have the crystal replaced, we can have the case repolished on request, but I like to leave these vintage watches as they are because it's part of the charm, it's part of the story, and I think if you're buying an old watch, I don't understand why you'd want it to look brand new unless it happens to be new old stock. I kind of like it having some age on it personally. But of course, it's all your choice, and it comes on a brown suede strap, which personally I think suits the watch beautifully. So let's show this on wrist and talk dimensions. And there we go on my 7-inch wrist. Just like before, really great proportions and perfect for someone who finds the 36 a bit too small or just wants that ever so slightly bigger watch. This definitely ticks that box. So this is 38mm by 47.5mm lug to lug, only 11mm thick and 20mm on the lugs with drilled lug holes. So strap changing is nice and easy, but yeah, this definitely suits the watch. So go check it out on the website today. And then finally, of the 3 jumbos, we have the black dial, a really, really cool one as well. The case on this one is probably the most worn of the 3, but it's still really nice and still really strong and just a good looking watch, and to have a black dial, quite rare. So let's take a closer look at this one. Now for another Tudor Prince Oyster date jumbo referring to the size of 38mm. I apologize if you've watched the past 2 jumbos we've looked at and I'm repeating myself, but I'm going on the basis someone's clicking on this video and maybe only looking at this one, so I want to make sure they don't miss anything. So yes, jumbo refers to the size of 38mm. This features a gorgeous black dial, applied Tudor logo at the top, and those lume infilled indices and hands, which are just absolutely incredible. So just to point out, the lume dots are around the outside of the indices. The indices are applied, so not full of lume. My apologies if that didn't make any sense. Cyclops over the date right there. And this case, as I said, is the most worn of the 3, with the softest edges, but still nice, strong case, I would say, and definitely ready to be worn and enjoyed. So this is a reference 9080/0, lots of zeros there, and this one's from circa 1983. You have a Rolex signed screw-down crown at 3 o'clock, a signed Rolex case back, which is also screwed down, inside an automatic ETA 2784, a nice reliable movement that was used across many, many brands, and we paired it on a black suede strap, which I think really suits the design, and I think it looks absolutely incredible. But as always with these, straps can be easily changed and swapped out. Now if you do want to have the case refinished, a new crystal put on, that can be done at an additional cost and time frame to delivery, so do keep that in mind. But as I've said many times in the past, personally, if you're buying an old watch, expect it to look a bit old. I think that's kind of the charm and the point. If you want a new watch, buy a new watch. That's where I stand with it. But of course, it's your decision, and we can get pretty much anything done that you wish. So let's show this on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. As I said before, pretty much great proportions, perfect for anyone who finds a 36 a little too small or just wants a little bit bigger than that dimension in the first place. So this is 38mm by 47.5mm lug to lug, only 11mm thick and 20mm on the lugs with drilled lug holes, so you can swap out the straps super easy if you're not a fan of this black suede. But to be honest, I think that suits the design perfectly, and this just looks so stealth and under the radar in that all black. So go check it out on the website today. From there, something for the ladies. This is a 2017 Omega Constellation 27mm in steel and rose gold or red gold or pink gold, whatever Omega want to call it. And it has the mother of pearl dial with diamond indices as well. A beautiful watch. Full bracelet, box and papers, everything with it. A fantastic pickup for any lady out there. So let's take a close look at that. So now on something for the ladies. This is a gorgeous Omega Constellation quartz from 2017, specifically October 2017, with its full box and paperwork. I won't bore you with the reference. This is the era of very long references from Omega, so head over to the website. You can see that full reference stated there for those of you that are interested. But the highlights here are stainless steel and rose pink or red gold, whatever Omega want to call it, with the full gold bezel, gold crown, as you can see. And as we take a closer look at that dial, it is a beautiful mother of pearl with that gorgeous pattern through it, diamond indices and loomed hands. It's very, very attractive, and the retail price on these were incredibly high, and the price we're asking for this, I think, is an absolute bargain for someone out there looking for this watch. You have this sort of bar link bracelet, which is iconic for the Constellation, and you have those gold caps in between, which are very, very attractive. This is actually a full bracelet. It's a very large bracelet, and it opens up like so. You pull that open and then pull that open, nice and easy, making sure you do that side first, and then the Omega logo clips into place. Very nice, very attractive, and a screw down crown with the Constellation observatory right there, as you'd expect on this reference. And inside is a quartz Omega caliber 1376. Now the watch is worn, there are scratches, but nothing too major. We can have it completely refinished for you on request. Obviously that comes at an additional price and time frame to delivery, so do keep that in mind, but it can be done and it's not too much of an ask. So don't hesitate if you want this to look brand new for you. We can certainly get that done. So let's show this one. Well, I'm not going to show it on, well, let me rest it against my wrist so you can see what it looks like on a 7-inch wrist, because quite a few women out there have the same size wrist as me. I've not got particularly big wrists, so that's what it looks like. Or maybe even for a gent out there who wants to pick this up, you know, whatever you wish. This is 27mm by 33mm lug to lug, only 8.5mm thick and 17.5mm at the where the lugs start, and it obviously tapers down to the clasp. Really beautiful watch, so go check it out on the website today. And then on to another Omega. This time it is a 1998 Omega Seamaster Black Quartz 41mm with the sword hands. My personal preference, I would say, of the Seamasters, I really like the sword hand one, and the automatic of this I know is a favourite for a lot of the people out there who are watching this. A lot of my customers absolutely love that watch, own it, and have owned it multiple times, but this is the quartz version in the 41mm, so let's take a closer look. Now for another Omega Seamaster Quartz 41mm, this time the black dial, black bezel, 1998 with that gorgeous sword hands. I'm a big fan of this one. I actually prefer it to the other one personally, and as I've said multiple times, I prefer the older wave dial to the newer wave dial because the waves were much more subtle and they catch the light beautifully in my opinion, whereas the new waves are very deep, they're very big and they're very prominent, which I guess goes with the overall design of the newer watches. But this is the reference 264.50.00. It's from circa 1998, as I said, and it comes with its box and booklet and full bracelet, nice big bracelet with some spare links in the box as well. As we open it up, you've got a nice screw down case back with the hippocampus right there. Inside a quartz Omega caliber 1538, and we just had the battery replaced as well. So a great watch, ready to go and be enjoyed. Now it is worn, but not overly worn. I would say very fair for this kind of age and this kind of watch. At the end of the day, it's a dive watch, so do expect it to have some wear. But as always, we can get it completely redone for you, you know, case and bracelet, an additional cost and time frame to delivery if you so wish. But as always, I say try and get the watch first and make that decision after. You know, at the end of the day, not all watches need polishing. Sometimes photos and videos can make things look worse. That's always, you know, typically the case. So you might actually get a watch and go, actually, I'm perfectly fine with this. This looks better than a lot of the watches in my collection. And if you spend that extra money, got it polished, you know, it kind of becomes pointless. But as always, you can always polish it after the fact, right? We can't undo a polish. So don't hesitate afterwards to ask for a polish. But let's show this on wrist and talk dimension. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist, as you can see right there. Absolutely gorgeous at 41mm by 47.5mm lug to lug. Only 11mm on the thickness and 20mm on the lugs. I've said it before, these look amazing on straps, and I'm always amazed by how good they look. Obviously the bracelet's great, and definitely size this up and enjoy it, but do try it on a leather strap, a rubber strap, something like that. They look brilliant. So go check this one out on the website today. From there over to a beautiful 1958 Omega Seamaster automatic on a very interesting bead of rice bracelet with one of the first ever glide adjusts that Omega ever made. Really interesting design. Obviously something to keep in mind, that is a very old bracelet, so it does come with a leather strap as well. I would not recommend just wearing it all the time on the bracelet. They are a bit more fragile, just keep that in mind. But if you're wearing a watch that is, what's that, 70 odd years old nearly, hopefully you've already got that in mind. You're not going to go doing anything too strenuous whilst wearing this. But let's take a closer look at this. Now, from a modern Seamaster to a vintage Seamaster, it's kind of amazing how these have changed over time. And this one is fresh from a recent service with our watchmaker, running absolutely beautifully. You can see lovely even patina developing on that dial, which I'm personally a very big fan of. You have the date over there at 3 o'clock, and it's the nice fat case, which I really enjoy as well, with the big lugs. And this comes, as I mentioned, on its bead of rice bracelet with an interesting clasp. So this is one of the first Omega style adjustment clasps. So something to keep in mind, when you want to open this, you can't just pull it open. You see a little lever right there. If you push that down, you can then slide the bracelet out. So let me show you where you can see. So you slide the bracelet out like so, and then it releases. So you've got to open it all the way to release it, and to close it, you close it there. Obviously it's not locked in, and then you slide it up to where you need it to be, and off you go. Now, I would recommend not wearing it with this out, because that is quite a thin piece of metal. This is more so you can get it over your hand and fasten it to your wrist. So that's how I would treat it personally. But a sort of nifty little feature nonetheless. And I guess if you are particularly hot one day and you just want to move it out a little bit like that, you know, that probably would be fine for a while. But as I mentioned in the intro, do keep in mind this is a very old bracelet. You know, it has got some sag and wear to it, which is why we're including a leather strap, which looks great on the watch in my opinion. Under additional photos, you'll see a wrist shot of that as well, so you can get an idea of what that strap looks like. Anyway, on to the details. So this is a reference 2849-14, and inside is an automatic Omega caliber 503. You can see a nice strong hippocampus right there. And this one's from circa 1958. Absolutely gorgeous, original Omega crown at 3 o'clock. Just a great watch and great price, just over £1,000. I don't think you can go wrong, especially with the bracelet and the strap. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And just to demonstrate, once you clip it in, and you can slide it up like so until it closes. So hopefully that demonstrates that. This isn't currently sized to my wrist, it's a little bit loose for me, but here you go. You can see it on my 7-inch wrist. These 34mm wear a lot bigger than 34mm, so don't hesitate to pick this up and give it a try. So 34mm by 41.5mm lug to lug, 12mm on the thickness and 18mm on the lug, so endless options if you're not a fan of the bracelet or strap, which I'll be surprised by, but go check it out on the website today. And last but by no means least, a 1970s Nevada Antarctique Glacier automatic on its NSA bracelet with a sprung clasp. I absolutely love this. The patina on the dial is incredible. It really looks like a snow glazed mountain or something like that. Really amazing value for money as well. So let's take a closer look at that one. Now on to the Nevada Antarctic Glacier automatic, and hopefully you can see just how beautiful that dial is. The patina and the way it's developed, it's like a snow-covered mountain, which I think is very fitting with the name Antarctic Glacier, right? It does look like a glacier. You have applied indices right there, which are really, really cool. Date over at 3 o'clock, and polished hands, which just look fantastic. Nice cushion case, original signed crown at 3 o'clock, and screw down case back, which has the penguin. Some people call this the penguin case back because of how iconic the Antarctic symbol is right there. Really, really cool. It comes on a NSA bracelet, which has a sprung-loaded clasp. I'll show you that shortly, but it has a really nice texture, which I think suits the watch and the design perfectly, and it's a really good fit as well. It actually came on this, so I believe it was probably sold on this originally. So the reference is 3486, and inside is an automatic ETA 2472, so a nice reliable movement that we had serviced with our watchmaker as well, so it's ready to go and be enjoyed, and it's from circa 1970s. No books or papers, obviously, to be expected, but a really gorgeous watch, especially for the price, and I think you get a ton of watch for the money, and something that really stands out. You know, if you was to wear this to one of those watch gatherings like Red Bar or any of the others, I think this is definitely something that will get a lot of attention, and people will be like, how cool is that? And probably very surprised at how affordable it is, considering everything I just said. So let me show you how the clasp works. You just open it up like such, and then you have to, I'm trying to do this for a camera lens, so please forgive me. You basically put that bar through and fasten it down, and it's sprung ever so slightly, you can see right there. So to keep in mind, this is a very old spring from the 70s. We have had it taken out and cleaned, so that's about the most spring you're going to get from it. Sometimes they come out a hell of a lot, but that's as far as that one's coming out. So yeah, let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. Really, really great size, great look, especially because of that cushion case. So do keep that in mind. This wears a lot bigger than the dimensions will lead you to believe, because it's 35.5mm by 40mm lug to lug, only 11mm on the thickness and 18mm on the lug. So if you're not a fan of this bracelet or it doesn't quite fit you, you can swap it out nice and easily for a leather strap, and I think it would look absolutely incredible on a suede as well. So go check out this watch on the website today. So there you have it, guys and girls. 12 incredible watches on the table for you here today. Let me know down in the comments, what is your favorite? Mine has to be the Tudor, and I think very close second, surprisingly, is the most affordable watch on the table, which is the Nevada. I absolutely love this watch. I've owned one in the past as well with a very similar patina. I think it's incredible. So yeah, let me know down in the comments. And I want to apologize if there was any noise, like background noise in this video. We're getting a lot of work done on the building at the moment. And it's just the time of year where things go on outside in Clerkenwell Road itself. There's a lot of building work out there, building work in here. So I do apologize for any background noise during this video. Hopefully it wasn't too bad, and we'll see you all again next week. Take care.